MPJ fans, rock fans from all around the world, the universe, the galaxy, wherever you're tuning in from, welcome to another MPJ special, because we have none other than Diego Cafolla from Kingcrow. Welcome to our humble show, Diego. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's really appreciated. How are you?
I'm good. My pleasure to do the interview.
Oh. No, thank you so much.
So you have a wonderful Italian accent. Whereabouts are you based? Whereabouts are you hailing from? Where do you work your magic, Diego?
I live in Rome, close to the city, a bit on the countryside.
Lovely. Now, okay, so we reviewed your latest album, Hopium, which me and Trish in particular absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it as well. Maybe not as much as Trish did, and it did well. You were so close to get into our Hall of Fame, which would have been fantastic, but I still think you're like way in the top. We've done about nearly 500 albums now, and I think you're still around about the top 100 or so, which is fantastic. So, your album, for me, was probably one of the most interesting albums that I'd listened to this year, and it was one of my nice surprises of the year as well. How would you? I mean, I see from your website that you describe your music, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth. How would you describe your music to somebody who's never heard of Kingcrow before, and they're about to listen to Hopium? What are they about to expect? Unless, of course, they haven't listened to our review. But there we go.
Okay, I think we are a kind of a bit of a crossover band. We have a progressive attitude, for sure. I would say it's kind of a alternative hard rock with influences from progressive rock, and also we have an atmospheric side which is close to some different kinds of music compared to the usual progressive metal influences. Like I love bands like Massive Attack, the whole trip hop movement basically, and I think there are a lot of moments on the record that drag these kinds of atmospheres.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of sums up nicely. I said that kind of in my review. It's like because I like a little bit of prog rock, but for me, prog rock like Dream Theater, for example, is just, for me personally, it's like a death by 1,000 cuts. You know, the first minute is cool, and then 8 minutes later, I just want to throw my head in a bucket. And your songs, most of them anyway, not all of them, but most of them are like a bit Jekyll and Hyde, because they start in that kind of slow and proggy rock type of vibe to it, and then bang, they kick into this really cool heavy melodic kind of, which I love. I love that heavy melodic kind of sub. I think I probably have 4 or 5 different sweet spots in my rock vocabulary, if you like, and that darker, heavier melodic rock kind of is one of them, which is what I loved about that double side of your album. And I would say probably 2/3 of your album is more towards that side than the prog rock side of it as well. But would that about sum that up in terms of, well, I articulated that right, do you think?
I think because we are a very different band compared to Dream Theater, for example. Because the technical aspect, it's not the core of our sound.
Correct. Yeah.
It's there from time to time. It's there quite often, but we try to make it not obvious.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I wasn't definitely not comparing you directly to Dream Theater. It's just like, Dream Theater.
But
it's the start of your songs are similar, but that's where it ends. 30 seconds to a minute in, it changes. It transforms into something else. So and totally goes away from Dream Theater. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have this interview with you because like.
Okay. Also, because the length of our songs, I mean, it's compared to other progressive metal bands or progressive rock bands. Our songs are quite short.
They are. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, totally.
We try to write songs. I mean, also in structure. Besides a few songs where we experiment a bit more with unusual structures. But usually you have a song, and the progressive aspect is infusing different styles to something hopefully personal. That's what we try to do.
I sort of got when I listened to the album again today, and I felt and wrote down that the beginnings to some of the tracks they create an ambience.
Yes,
and
exactly.
an atmosphere of what you're drawing them into, and then that crescendos once then the chorus hits.
Yeah, I mean, we use the crescendo quite a lot as a formula. It's not a formula, but it's our way to develop. It's basically telling a story. So you have a kind of an introduction, and then you develop, the subject of the story, and that's because also the emotional aspect of our music is very important to us. It's not just showing off or a bunch of heavy riffs. We have also the lyrics. Diego writes, the other Diego, the singer. They are quite, I would say, thoughtful, and we try to make many little words between the lyrics and the music, and we try to make them fit as much as we can each other. Yeah, we try to tell a story both with the lyrics and the music.
Oh, it's almost though it's not a concept album, far from it. It has that conceptual feel because the art of the storytelling that you've got in there, and once you kind of get used to your style, I love it because you got to go. I know this is kicking in, and you can't wait for it to kick in. But equally, you and Trish is absolutely right. The ambience is in there, and I suppose what I was trying to make the difference between you and Dream Theater is whereas you damn well know Dream Theater isn't really ever going to kick in for another 8 minutes, whereas yours is going to kick in after like 30 seconds to a minute. Yeah, sometimes a bit longer, but yeah, fantastic album. It's just. I don't know. It's got a little bit of that magical feel to it, and it's as I said right from the word go. It's one of the nice surprises of that. I suppose I'm not a big fan of that kind of ambience kind of building, but it more than made up for it when it did kind of kick in. So, which is great. So, how did the band come about then? How long have you been together? How long have you been writing about? How the Diego to the power of 2 kind of come around? How did all that happen?
The band, me and my brother started a band, which is not the band you know nowadays, but we started in the late 90s.
Okay.
We were kids basically, and we just started to play. He is the drummer of the band, and we started to play just guitar and drums, and I was taking care of the vocals, and then we added a bass player, and it all started from there. But things got more serious when we found what we think is a great singer in Diego. And he joined the band in 2010, and with the album Phlegethon, which was basically the album that did put us on the map on international level. I mean, we started touring Europe with that record, and it's really the beginning of the band. Nowadays, it's quite some time.
And what was the band called then? When did you change the name to?
It started as Earth Shaker.
Oh, okay, that's a cool name.
Then, yeah, but we did find that there was an Australian band with the same name, and we changed to Kingcrow. But the lineup was completely different beside me and my brother. So we did a bunch of demos, very long demos, I have to say. They are more albums than demos. I mean, they are self-produced, but they are self-produced records, basically. But in 2010, we found a label, and with Phlegethon, it all started there, really.
Trish, come on then. You give Kingcrow a 5, so you must be absolutely buzzing with some questions. Let's have the Trish segment of the show here, ladies and gentlemen. Introducing.
First
Trish.
question is, obviously, how did you come about with the band's name, Kingcrow?
Because at the time I was a lot into Edgar Allan Poe, and I was reading The Raven, and I was fascinated by this poem, really, and I was searching for a name for the band, and took The Raven, and it became Crow, and Edgar Allan Poe is the king of horror, so we did fuse the two words, and it became Kingcrow.
One question I haven't actually really asked is, when you make an album and you've got a list of tracks that you want to put on it, how do you decide the running order of it? What is going to be the opening track that's going to draw the listener in and then make the flow of the album? Do you put them in order and listen and then change that about?
Yeah, usually yes. Usually the first song and the last song are quite obvious, because the opening track, it's always a very immediate kind of song with a a good punch, and usually when you are checking the songs that you have, it's pretty obvious which one is going to be the first one. And sorry, the last one, usually for tradition for us, is or the big epic or a ballad in every record.
I was quite surprised at how the album ended, actually, because it is very sort of a tranquil.
Yeah, but that's a bonus track. I mean, the official record ends with the title track, Hopium, and then at the time, the last song, I mean, the ballad, Come Through, it wasn't planned. It didn't exist at the time. I mean, we did finish the recordings on the other 9 tracks, and that was the record. And one afternoon, I just wrote Come Through, and I did a demo. The album at the time was at mixing stage already. It was sent to mix, and I wrote that song and sent it to the other guys, and they thought it was a cool, nice ballad, and we did reset up the whole studio, because we were rehearsing the songs for live shows. So we have to set up the studio for the recordings, record the song, and then send it to the mix before the record was going to be mastered. Basically, it was done a couple of days, really.
It's quite interesting, because when you said, the first and last, I'm going like, sorry, and why wasn't Hopium, which is my favourite, last? And that would explain that. So yeah.
No, that opening track is hits you, it draws you in, it makes you want more. Definitely the right.
Oh, definitely. And Diego, you'd be surprised when we scratch our heads on some opening tracks and go like, "Why?" You say you think, but honestly, I think some bands just don't have a clue. Because like we go like, if only that was like the fifth track was only the opening track. But yeah, music is personal. But no, my favourite is Hopium. Where did the name Hopium come from? What's that? Tell me the story of that. Because that's an unusual kind of title as well, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's unusual because at the beginning the record didn't start with Kintsugi. There was an intro, which was called Hope, and the last track was Hopium. And it was titled Hopium, not Hopium, the title track. And the folder of the project in my studio, I fused the first song, which was the introduction, Hope, and Hopium, the title track, and I made the folder named Hopium. And I started to think about the meaning behind such a word. And when Diego came to the studio, Diego the singer, we started to talk about the possible meaning behind that word, and it all started from there, and it became the title of the record. Then the introduction was dropped from the final track list because we wanted to start the record with a bang, and the introduction was more atmospheric, so we did drop that piece and started with Kintsugi, but the title remained Hopium.
What a great little story that was! I love that. I thought that was fantastic. Trish, sorry, I did railroad you a little bit there. Will you get any more questions?
How does your creative process change from album to album? Are there certain, like, what do you draw from to then move on to the next album and write?
Usually my goal is to make something different every time. I don't want to, this band was always morphing from album to album, and we don't want to make something that is too similar to the previous album. So in the beginning we just drop everything that sounds too similar to what we have done. And when you're writing, there is always a song that pops up at one point that has a specific character that tells you maybe this is what we should do this time. We call it the X song, because at one point something happens and you find something that you can start building all the other songs around in terms of atmosphere, sound. It can be production, everything, but we wanted every record to have its own character.
You kind of mentioned that we've talked about Diego, the second Diego, the second coming, if you like, and you said it was a game changer. How did that come about? Did you were you actively searching for a singer, or how did he reply to an ad or something? How did that come about?
At the time we made the last show, which was quite a big show. It was a festival with Iron Maiden and the Lining.
Wow.
Yeah, and basically after the show, the band was gone. It was like we reached the peak, and we didn't talk for I don't know, almost a year. And also the singer had problems with his voice. The previous singer. Meanwhile, I wrote a whole record basically, and at one point I called the other guys and told them, guys, I have a record. It's all demoed. If you want to check it, I think it's a pretty good record. And everyone did agree on that, but we wanted a different singer. And the first singer of the band which is a very close friend of mine, told me that he knew a guy, and he sent me. I think it was Diego singing a part on a musical, kind of a Broadway style kind of musical.
Yeah.
And I thought that his voice was amazing. So I called him and I told him, "Oh, I have a record and a band. If you want to come to the studio, we can try something." And it all started from there. And it's 15 years ago, something like that.
Oh, that's amazing, isn't it? That's what a great story. How go and sing it and say, "Look, we don't want you." Yeah, I know you don't want me, but I know I'm going to get you my replacement. As a kind of that's just absolutely fantastic. Okay, and so hold on. This previous band supported Iron Maiden, and you felt you're at the pinnacle and that you couldn't go any further. Why did you think that? I mean, surely the next step up is then to become your own kind of lead band. Why did you not think that? Why did you think you'd hit the pinnacle? That's quite fascinating.
I don't know. I probably because that lineup. I thought at the time that was as much as we could achieve, basically. And also, I think we really matured as a songwriters and arrangers. The production value also made, because I started producing our own records, and everything was on the material I was working on. There was a quality that we never had before, basically. But we had to change some members of the band to.
And how would you describe your music back then into comparison to what it is now?
It's completely different. Is every record also at the time was very, very different. I mean, they are all public experiments, basically. It's just one record is more like Queensryche, Sabotage, kind of American metal kind of style. Another one, we started to experiment a lot with vocal arrangements, and I mean interlocked vocal lines and stuff like that. I was listening a lot to the Beach Boys, and the vocal arrangements are amazing. So I started experimenting with that kind of stuff and introduced synthesizers into the texture of the band. And I think with Phlegethon it was like I learned all these studies I did came into form,
And what band, when you were growing up, do you think was your biggest inspiration? Do you always wanted to be in a band when you were growing up, or is that something that developed kind of later on? Did you always go, "I really want to be at that stage"? And which band was your biggest influence when you were growing up?
Oh, many bands. I mean, one of my favorite bands ever is Pink Floyd, and I have listened so much music that I do love Pink Floyd since I was a kid, basically. Yeah. I mean, it's my oldest musical memory, basically. And bands like Rush, the trip hop movement, Massive Attack, stuff like that. I was into metal a lot also as a teenager. King Crimson. I mean, many bands.
And if somebody said to you, like, who are you listening to right now as a band that's maybe up and coming? Do you go, "Oh, I like these guys. These guys are going to be good"? Is there any particular band out there at the minute that you kind of go, "These guys are good"?
You mean new bands?
Yeah.
I don't know. I discovered a band which is very strange, and it's called The Start. It's an alternate. I don't know if it's really alternative rock, but it's a very weird kind of band, and I'm listening to them a lot lately. It's from the Netherlands.
Okay. What they call The Start?
They Start.
They Start. Okay, cool. And we mentioned, obviously, you've done tour in the past, and I know you've been to the UK previously. Any plans to tour this year with Kingcrow, or are you looking at just moving on to the next album? What's the plans for next year for 2025? So
early 2025, we are going to tour Europe.
Okay.
I don't know the dates yet, but I know that there's going to be a European tour coming, and then after that, meanwhile I'm writing in the studio, and if we have all the songs, our plan is to next fall to start recording a new record.
Wow. Well, I certainly hope you come to the UK. That would be amazing. Trish, any last questions from Trish, from Rock Chick Trish?
I always have my obligatory question, which is, what is your favourite track of Hopium?
I don't know. Probably Hopium, the title track.
Okay.
Glitch is another one that I love.
I like Glitch.
Because
Nigel, what else?
it's huh? Sorry?
What else? What's your favourite one, Nigel?
Oh, Hopium, by a long way.
See, I'm going Parallel Lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parallel Lines is good. I like Glitch, I like Parallel Lines. Obviously, I do like the opening track as well. I just like the album. So,
Yeah, also Parallel Lines also it's one of my favorites, because it's I don't know, it's quirky and dark.
Yeah.
It's really dark. It's a really dark song, and I love it.
Well, listen, Diego, I could talk to you all night because I think it's kind of fascinating. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been
My pleasure.
Been amazing. Thank you very much. And for people out there, please check out Hopium with Kingcrow. Check out our review. It is genuinely a very, very interesting album. I would say it's probably one of the more interesting albums I've heard this year, which is fantastic. So thank you very much to Diego. Thank you to my rock chick Trish. Much appreciated, and good luck on your tour. We certainly hope you come to the UK. We will be down the front and centre if you do. And good luck, and let's keep in touch. Maybe we can catch up with you with another interview when you're about to launch your new album. Will be amazing. But for now, thank you very much to Diego Cafolla from Kingcrow. Goodbye, everybody. Keep on rocking, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.